Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank all of you for being here. We appreciate this. It's extremely important. And I know that my colleagues have pointed this out, that diagnostic tests, including laboratory-developed tests, play such a critical role in our healthcare system. As a healthcare professional, as a pharmacist, I understand that, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate what y'all do. It's been estimated that 70% of all healthcare decisions are influenced by lab tests. I know I was a consultant pharmacist in nursing homes, and we depended on lab tests quite often to help us in our decision-making on drug therapy, and that was extremely important. The rules that the FDA is proposing could stifle innovation, as we all know, and that's our fear and our concern, and it could hinder patients' access to tests. Ms. Van Meter, I wanted to ask you, and I don't mean to be redundant, I suspect you've answered this already, but could you elaborate again on the importance of laboratory-developed tests and for innovation in diagnostics and medicine?
Yes, thank you for the question. So laboratory-developed tests really are the cutting edge when it comes to leading the foundational work for personalized medicine. Laboratory-developed tests are among the first tests that are developed when we're facing a new pathogen of concern. Among the first EUAs, for example, for COVID tests were laboratory-developed tests, and laboratories across the country were able to dramatically augment the nation's testing capacity. So if it's for infectious disease, is it for precision medicine, laboratory-developed tests are really leading the way on innovation. So we're significantly concerned that a medical device authority application broadly in this unilateral fashion without any exceptions is not the right approach. We think a comprehensive legislative approach would be the right direction.
Okay, I want to ask each of you a yes or no question. You pretty much just answered it, Ms. Van Meter, but yes or no, do you think the current medical device framework is best suited to address regulation of all diagnostic tests, including laboratory-developed tests?
I do not.
No, we believe something similar to the VALID Act would be much preferred.
We do not, and we also believe the VALID Act would provide the flexibility that we would need for this kind of oversight.
Good.
It's better than the absence of oversight, but would favor the VALID Act.
Right.
We do not believe a device approach is appropriate.
Okay, Dr. Karcher, let me ask you, do you think that the LDT rule places independent pathologists and large corporations on an equal playing field? And I'll preface that question, or I'll add to that question by saying that I was an independent retail pharmacist, so I'm very concerned about independent pathologists as well, and I have quite a few in my district as well.
Thank you very much for that question, and it's a very pertinent observation. So no, it does not create a level playing field. Local laboratories would be very disadvantaged if this rule were to go forward as written. We think it's very important that laboratories that are performing LDTs develop and perform those LDTs for patients in the hospital or the network where that laboratory is located. We're familiar, as a pathologist, I can say we're familiar with those patients. We're in constant communication with their physicians, and that allows us to safely offer those tests. So we would be at a disadvantage, and patients would equally be disadvantaged.
Right, good. Well, thank you for that answer. Dr. Eisner, let me ask you, do you share the same worry that I do, and that is that raising the barrier to accessing new cancer diagnostics will be another arrow aimed at cancer patients?
I absolutely do, and I can speak from personal experience as a patient who accessed LDTs for my own personal patient care. The environment that allowed those tests to exist in the first place is the reason I was able to avoid chemotherapy. That's a really big deal to me, and I think that if we lose the ability for people to bring new and innovative technology, that we're going to be treating everybody in a very broad fashion rather than tailoring the care that we need to tailor.
Thank you for that. Mr. Rothstein, let me ask you one last question. As we consider possible legislative approaches to address this issue that's been raised here today, what would be the most important component of any alternative legislative proposal, and what should we avoid?
Sure, well, thank you for the question. Well, in terms of what the proposal should look like, we think the VALID Act takes it pretty much all of the way there in terms of a single framework that addresses patient needs, provides a single regulator with innovative pre-market and importantly, post-market concepts included. In terms of avoidance, I would defer to my colleagues on the CLIA side there in terms of what issues they experience would be most problematic.
Great. Okay, I'll leave it at that, but thank you all, and I'll yield back, Mr. Chairman.